I'm recording. Hi. Hello BookTube, I'm Erin and welcome back to my channel Waiting Moose, where I talk about books. I am going to do a book haul today. I would love to say that this is going to be quick, but it's not, because I got a little crazy at my library and then I went to some used bookstores and also went a little crazy. So we're going to start with the library. I also have a little problem in that I don't actually remember if I did a haul with some of these books already, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. So if you've seen them in a haul before, just pretend that I'm not old and forgetful and that you haven't seen them before. How's that? We're going to start out with Mike Carey's Thicker Than Water. This book is actually by the same author of The Girl with All the Gifts. M.E. Carey and Mike Carey are the same person. Before he started writing The Girl with All the Gifts, or before he wrote The Girl with All of the Gifts, he wrote this series. There's 5 books in it. It's about Felix Castor, who is an exorcist in London. So it's an urban fantasy series, and I found it because I liked Jim Butcher and I was looking for something similar, and this fit the bill, and I actually really enjoy it, even though it's not as like Harry Dresden as I thought it would be. Next up, I have a Because of BookTube selection, and that's Siddhartha. And I saw Louise at Big Haired Bookworm talking about this. She read it because of another book she was reading was talking about reading this. And it's a story about Buddha without being about Buddha, if that makes any sense. I don't really know. I've never read it. And excuse me, I am looking forward to getting to it, especially since it's nice and short. And I did Tome Topple in April, and that was a little lengthy in reads. Speaking of Tome Topple, I read The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie for that. So this is another one for my library book haul. This is the one I'm not sure if you've seen before. This book is, I've talked about it a couple times. I know I have on the channel, so I don't really want to talk about it much right now, but it was a good read and it was totally worth the Tome Topple challenge on that one. I read Jeffrey Deaver's The Stone Monkey, which was like 550 pages, so it made the Tome Topple challenge. This one is the 4th book in the Lincoln Rhyme series, and Lincoln is a quadriplegic. Yes, quadriplegic. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. He's a quadriplegic. He used to be a police officer, but obviously, as he's confined to a wheelchair, he no longer is. But he is often called in to consult on cases for the NYPD, and it's much like a Dr. Watson Sherlock Holmes kind of mystery, where Lincoln Rhyme is the Sherlock Holmes, but he's confined to his house in a wheelchair, and his assistant, Dr. Watson, is Amelia Sachs, who goes out and she does the crime scene investigating. She often is talking to him while she's walking crime scenes, gathering evidence. So this one is actually really based in Chinese mythology, or Chinese history, not mythology, and immigrants, the Chinese immigrants, and that whole situation with, you know, how they're treated. That's not what this is for, Erin. This is, whoops, dropping things. This is not for you to tell people about the books, it's for you to do the book haul. Okay, moving on. So those were my 2 Tome Topple books. And then I picked up this, Heartsick by Chelsea Cain. This was it's an audiobook. So it was the audiobook choice for me for a road trip back to a quilt retreat in my hometown that I did last weekend. So I always like to have an audiobook, and it's nice to get one on CD so I'm not dealing with like Bluetooth and trying to get everything connected and bad connections. So yeah, that's why I did that. It's when I have a lot of audiobooks on my phone that I should be listening to. I also picked up Hark, a Vagrant by Kate Beaton. She's a Canadian author. Canadian to make sure. I'm like, oh, maybe that's not the book. This is actually a graphic novel. A bunch of comic strips, basically, that she has written, and they are about historical figures or literature figures. So some of them were pretty obscure for me. I didn't know what she was talking about. So I really enjoyed the fact that when you read these, she's actually got some information at the bottom in case you don't understand what's going on. So she was like prepared for the ignorant among us, which includes me. The library book haul continues because I went a little nuts. nuts. This is another Because of BookTube choice. I have Gilead by Marilyn Robinson. Yes. Yes, Marilyn Robinson. And this is because Kendra Winchester was talking about it, and she actually talks about Marilyn Robinson quite a bit on her channel. So I'm really excited to have it. Next, I have Flu, the story of the great influenza pandemic of 1918 and the search for the virus that caused it. This has been on my TBR since 2010. It's a nonfiction title, and it is time for me to finally get to it. And finally, this was a choice, a request I made for Tome Topple. It's In the Woods by Tana French. It is quite a long book. It's about the Dublin Murder Squad, and it did not come in at my library in time for me to do it for Tome Topple. So that is why it did not get read for Tome Topple. Another book that has been on my TBR since 2010. And then I went on vacation. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I was recently in the Okanagan, specifically Kelowna in that area. I drank a lot of wine, but in addition, including sparkling wine out of a can. But in addition to all that madness, I also hit a used bookstore. And of course, I could not resist picking up some books. I picked up The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torre. I picked up, some of these are going to have a story, some of these are just, they're fairly recent, and I've seen people on BookTube talk about them. I have Prairie Hardball by Alison Gordon. You've never heard of this book. I never heard of this book. There it is sitting there, and I thought, Prairie, I wonder. Kate Henry returns to her roots in small town Saskatchewan. It's set in Saskatchewan. That's where I grew up. So, Prairie Hardball ended up in my car. Next, I picked up Henning Mankel's Sidetracked. I'm quite certain I haven't read this one yet. I am a huge fan of this series. It's the Valander series by Henning Mankell, Swedish author, Swedish crime fiction, which has been quite popular thanks to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And this is also a Netflix series starring Kenneth Branagh. Next, I have another Saskatchewan one. This one is Murder at the Mendel. The Mendel is an art gallery in Saskatoon. I'm not from Saskatoon, just from Saskatchewan. But so this has been on my TBR since 2010. Next up, I picked up Nevada Bar's Firestorm. This series I'm totally digging. It's about a park ranger. Yes, National Parks ranger and a pigeon. And in each book, she's in a different park. And so you learn about different areas of the United States national parks, and just things that are happening, right? So this is not the next book in the series for me, but it is Ill Wind is the next book in the series for me, and then Firestorm. I actually thought this was the next one, and I was wrong. And I'm pretty sure Ill Wind was there, and that I looked at it thinking that, oh, I've read that. I don't need to buy it. No, that's the next one I need to read. Next up, a lot of you talk about Stuart McBride. Apparently this Scottish author is very popular, and I have never read him. I did put Birthdays for the Dead on my TBR on Goodreads ages ago. I remember that, and it appeared to be a standalone, so I'm fingers crossed it is a standalone. And finally, a nonfiction book by Clara Hughes, Open Heart, Open Mind. Clara Hughes is a Canadian Olympic athlete who suffered from depression as well as some other issues, I believe. She is a pretty awesome athlete, having won medals in both speed skating and cycling. So she has won medals in both Winter and Summer Olympics, which is really awesome. And I've been wanting to read this for a while. So that is my book haul. I've been going a little nuts with the book buying, and I know that my bookshelves behind me really don't have a lot more room unless I clean off the bottom shelf, which is kind of my little hold all for crap that I don't know where else to put. So I'm running out of room on my shelves. I've got so many, like my trashy paperback collection right here is already too deep. So there's 2 stacks of paperbacks, like mass markets there. I've got mass markets stacked everywhere in there, and I'm just not quite sure how I'm going to do this and add any more books to that bookshelf. The worst part is, I did a book outlet order on the weekend because sale. So I'm really not sure where this is going to go from here, but I believe that I'm going to have to stop with the library for a bit, except I've got a book on hold there right now, The Bear and the Nightingale, for my book club. But yeah, I'm going to have to stop buying books, and I'm going to have to stop going to the library so that I can read some of the crap that's behind me and get that off my shelves and make room for more books. So yeah, book hauls. Bad, but fun. So, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing the book. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I found boxes of books in my garage, and I'm going to be going through those in another video coming up. And a bunch of book reviews, because I think I need to get back around to telling you guys about some of the books I've been reading without doing it as part of, you know, a greater video with more books. So that's the plan. Have a great night.